What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to episode number 326 of the Smark Out Moment Smack Talk podcast. I am your host, as always, Tony Mango, and joining me on the panel is Robert DeFelice.
How's it going? The long and winding road has led us back here to Smack Talk, or to the hot tags, to talk about a lot of just out there topics in the world of wrestling. Yeah, a lot of shit.
So this is the first hot tags that has been done in a while where it wasn't just me, which is a good thing because I always like having another opinion for different things. But if you don't know what the hot tags are, it's basically a breakdown of the current events, the gossip, the rumors, the news, the bullshit, the scuttlebutt, anything that went down in the past couple of days in the world of professional wrestling other than the pay-per-view itself, because we already covered that on the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view post-show. But we will have to update a couple of our opinions that we talked about last night because our main topic for this one is going to be some updates for the road to WrestleMania and the storylines for that pay-per-view. That's going to come up at the end of this, though. First things first, we have to go through some of the other things that happened throughout the week. And the first thing that I want to start off with is the confirmation of the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, which is something that, if you've been following the spoilers and stuff like that, then you know that this was something that they had announced, but they didn't really announce tons of it. It was really kind of strange. We have another set of tapings coming up for TakeOver on, I think it's like March 4th or something like that, whatever the tapings are at the beginning of March. And they had gone through almost all of the first round, yet now that they've announced the brackets for this, we know the updated 8th team that wasn't previously announced. We also know the 7th team that had been announced isn't in the mix. And we know a little bit more about who's going to be paired up with who. So, spoilers for the people who don't want to know what is going to happen over the next couple of weeks for the programming. We do know the Authors of Pain are going to defeat TM61. Sanity defeat Tino Sabatelli and Riddick Moss. The Street Profits will defeat Heavy Machinery. And then this is where it gets interesting. The original plan, based off of the tapings, was the Forgotten Sons came out, said that they were going to be fighting in the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, and that was actually the first thing on the tapings that indicated the Tag Team Classic was returning, not the William Regal segment, because they do those separately. They never air those on this tapings, that kind of a thing. And then it became, I'm going through my notes, and I had said, well, that 8th team, we don't know what that 8th team is. Obviously must be War Machine. Makes sense, right? They advertised War Machine.
They were thinking about it. I guess they decided to go with, who did they get replaced by? The British team?
Well, it ended up being that there are no Forgotten Sons in the bracket. Instead, those last two tag teams are Mustache Mountain, Trent Seven, and Tyler Bate, and the team that they've referred to as the Brit Am Bruisers, but they only referred to them on this as Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch. From what I had remembered, I thought Oney Lorcan was injured, but he must not be necessarily injured. And it always bugs me that they never refer to the tag teams by like their full fucking team names, but okay, sure. Brit Am Bruisers, I'll refer to them that way. Which, by the way, tonight on Monday Night Raw, did you hear the same thing that they've always been doing? Oh, the Balor Club, the Good Brothers themselves, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. I'm like, they throw this all three out every single time, but they still don't put that graphic up. Yeah, bugs the shit out of me.
Because I think it's a Vince thing. I don't think Vince likes tag team names.
Yeah, I think he wants them to be, well, they're the tag team of, like, say, Mustache Mountain, and then on the graphic, these are the two people in Mustache Mountain because we want two separate stars, kind of a thing. I think that's what it is, but nobody's going to pay that much attention with Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch either. And if you look at the bracket breakdown, Street Profits, Heavy Machinery, we know Street Profits win. TM61 versus Authors of Pain, we know Authors of Pain win. So that means Street Profits versus Authors of Pain in the semifinals. Sabatelli and Moss are going to lose to Sanity, so they are going to beat either Lorcan and Burch or Mustache Mountain. I would assume Mustache Mountain wins. What about you?
They do tend to like the United Kingdom title guys. I'll give it to them because, again, it's NXT and they do tend to lean towards those guys.
And that means our semifinals would essentially be Street Profits, Authors of Pain, Sanity, Mustache Mountain. So one of those 4 teams, unless something crazy happens with Lorcan and Birch, one of those 4 teams is going to win the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. And the announcement that they also said ahead of time was the winners of the Tag Team Classic are going to fight for the Tag Team Championship at TakeOver, which means that they didn't specify yet, but that kind of implies either the finals happen before TakeOver or they happen at TakeOver and a tag team title match happens at TakeOver.
NXT doesn't usually book their talent in multiple matches because they're not Monday Night Raw.
Unless it's something where it's like the multiple match thing was the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic when that first happened with Samoa Joe and Finn Balor. That was kind of like, we're doing the semifinals and the finals for that night. Right now, I can't imagine that being the case, because if I'm looking at my notes for what has been announced and what is likely to be announced, we've got Almas Black, Moon Baszler. Those have been confirmed. The tag title match will happen at TakeOver. We just don't know who they're going to fight yet. There's got to be something with Gargano Ciampa. I mean, that would make no sense to not do that, but maybe there's a chance that they don't. And then it seems like there's a possibility of Zelina Vega versus Candice LeRae. There also seems like there's a possibility of throwing something out there with the Velveteen Dream. You've got to figure out something with EC3 hasn't popped up yet. There's nothing with Cassius Ohno, nothing with Lars Sullivan. Pete Dunne's not doing anything with the United Kingdom Championship. He's involved in something with Roderick Strong, but the two of them are involved in something with the Undisputed Era, but they're not even in the tournament, so it's like, this is very strange. And the way that TakeOver is building, it pretty much means we don't know what the fuck's going on until the next tapings. At the very least, we know these are the teams that are in the mix to fight for the tag team titles, unless something happens where, like, I don't know, Lorcan and Birch get replaced at the last minute by War Machine, or you know what I mean, like one of those kind of things where it's like, we did a test and one of them isn't able to fight and blah blah blah. They do that kind of weird thing, but I'm not really too certain about where I want things to go here. And if I look at the teams that are in the Tag Team Classic and stuff, I'm rooting for Street Profits. What about you?
I think if it stays exactly the way it is right now, I think Street Profits take it.
And at that point, I don't think they're winning the titles either. That's the thing.
They could want to swerve you, go with Britt and Bruisers because they can match up well with O'Reilly and Fish if they're going strictly for match style. Then you gotta think Sanity can win it and they can have some kind of cluster to finally wrap up that feud. But as you laid out that card, I'm thinking, it is WrestleMania weekend. Do we get a 2-hour takeover?
That's the other thing.
NXT's got a lot of quality talent.
Yeah, 2-hour takeovers, or 2.5, really. Sometimes it's 10:30 in the end. I'm thinking maybe they add another half an hour to it. Maybe we get a 3-hour takeover. Or, I mean, there's something else that hasn't been really in the mix. They never have put a match on the pre-show of TakeOver. Maybe they actually do this time.
I don't see them putting it on the pre-show because they like to, unlike the main roster, they really do utilize their pre-show to put people on that aren't on the show and give them some promo time. I think Velveteen Dream is either going to be with Ricochet or EC3.
Mm-hmm. He should be at the very least. Like, they can't ignore Velveteen Dream right now.
Well, he did this, I was going to call it a promo, but it was really just a Twitter post about how he's sick of indie guys coming. Yeah. So they tend to use social media more in character on NXT. So maybe that leads to Ricochet or EC3. I think Ricochet is more likely. He'll get more of a pop on WrestleMania weekend. So we'll see.
And it also kind of makes me curious that nothing with War Machine yet, nothing with EC3 yet. maybe they pop up in the Battle Royal at WrestleMania. You know, there's some weird things happening, and we'll know a little bit more in like a week or so. And at the very least, right now we know the bracket, so that is something to keep in mind for anybody that is, you know, following that kind of story.
But what a slap in the face to the Forgotten Sons. Like, you give them that name, and then you literally drop them from the show.
The only thing I'd be cool about is, I mean, I don't really care about the Forgotten Sons right now because it's Wesley Blake, Steve Cutler, and who's the other one?
Oh, is there a third Forgotten Son?
There's a third one, and then there's Lacey Evans. Chad Lale.
Gunner.
Yeah.
Really? See, I understood Blake
and Cutler.
And Cutler, because they were literally on every NXT show at one point and they got dropped. To add Lacey and Gunner? I don't know about that.
Yeah. That stable, though, doesn't seem like it's something I'm all that interested in. The only one of them I give a shit about right now is Lacey. So I don't know if they do the whole Forgotten Sons thing and then they bring that up and they go like, we were supposed to be in the tournament, but we were forgotten. And like, that's kind of one of those things. It might be kind of funny, but I'm curious where they go from here at the very least. Now we know the brackets. Now we know a little bit more. And actually Wednesday night, when we get the next episode of NXT, they might clarify some of that in the future. I don't know. That's one thing to talk about though for this week. Another thing, and this is something that I think is just absolutely fucking ridiculous, is Paige. We talk about Paige quite a bit on the hot tags, and it's all because she always gets herself in the news for something that ends up being like, God damn it, Paige. Her latest thing is that she has gotten a tattoo on her hands, and it says, "Talk shit, get bit." Here's a controversial point of view, and then I think a non-controversial point of view. Controversial one first. I absolutely hate tattoos. If you like tattoos, cool. Doesn't matter to me. I think no tattoos look better on anybody than if they didn't have a tattoo. Like, say, like that Zara Schreiber girl who was in NXT for a little bit. The Nazi. She was somebody who I was like, oh man, she's hot. She would look so much hotter if she didn't have those tattoos. Like that kind of a thing. I always think that. It's just something that my personal preference. So to me, Paige getting a tattoo on her hands like that, the first thing I thought of was, number one, it's trashy. Especially because it's talk shit, get bit. And number two, didn't you learn your lesson with the poppy tattoo you got for Del Rio? Non-controversial point of view, you got your tattoo in a way where you can always be potentially showing that, and you are on WWE TV. They do not want you to have a tattoo that says shit on it. Idiot. If you want the tattoo, maybe based off of your job, you get it in a spot you can cover up a little bit.
Well, she wears the gloves, doesn't she? She can cover it up.
Well, she wasn't wearing the gloves when she was on a pre-show for Elimination Chamber. She just had glitter over the part that said shit. So now you're going to have to, like...
That's really trashy.
Yeah, now you're going to have to rub, like, glittery nail polish over your tattoo anytime you're on Monday night or on a pay-per-view. Why? Because you want people to see your hands and see that you are this rebellious person that says, talk shit, get bit on your fucking hands? She reminds me of a brat in so many different ways, and it seems like she's 13, and it's just like, I need to do something to get attention. I have no doubt in my mind, speaking from a psychological point of view, this is her acting out from her injury, and that's sad.
Yeah, she seems like the kind of person who wears her heart on her sleeves.
and has shit on her hands.
And, well, thankfully just the word shit and not a poop emoji like Enzo Amore, you know?
Oh, maybe she'll get the poppy one and it'll replace and it'll say poopy or something. They'll just add an O and change the other A to an O.
You know, the Del Rio thing was unfortunate. The nudes leak.
I feel bad for her for that.
That didn't need to be seen. I really don't think anyone deserves that. You know,
Well,
That being
let's put it this
said,
way. I feel bad for her that got leaked. I don't feel bad for her for any backlash that she got for having somebody come on the NXT title. That was just like, well, that's a little disrespectful.
that was real crazy. I'd never even thought about wrestlers doing that with their titles, and now
Now
I
you got to
think about
assume
it
anybody
like,
that had that belt afterward are just like, no.
no, I just think about
I
weird
kissed
things
it.
like Shawn Michaels in the 90s. I'm sure he was probably, you know, using the title, you know what I mean? Like, it's wrestling can be a really
Wrestling's weird.
odd business, yeah. But with the tattoo, it is what it is. It definitely seems like she is in a new phase of her life. She's with a new guy, another band guy. I think it's from the band Attila. She's got her store going on. She's clearly moving on, even if they haven't said, "Hey, Paige isn't gonna wrestle anymore." I think she knows she's done. So she's just like, "Yeah, I'm gonna get this tattoo because fuck it, I'm not gonna be a role model for kids anymore." Like, but yeah,
I think it's just one of those things where it makes me go, every time Paige is in the news, it's something negative. It's never like, here's the news story of Paige for the week. She decided to create a charity fund, or like she saved somebody from getting hit by a bus or something. It's always just like, here's me like lashing out, and here's me trying to cause a scene, and here's me acting like a child in certain ways, and I don't know. I just think that's ridiculous.
yeah, I can't really say I disagree, but I also feel like it might be a culture thing. You know, she's British. They're a lot more uh free with their language and even their sexuality. You know, like America can be reserved sometimes, where British people, you know, not so much. They're just like, yeah, so what? I was naked. You get naked all the time. You know it. It's something to be ashamed of. You know, oh, I said shit. You know, I'm a grown girl. Suck it up. So it could be some of that in there too.
Maybe. I think it's more of her mom. She just has a lot of her mom in her, because her mom strikes me as the same type. But then again, I don't know the family, so it's just speculation. But the
You will
tattoo
when you see
itself,
the new Rock-produced
ugh,
movie, Fighting with My Family.
I gotta assume that's gonna be garbage. I'll watch it, but it's gonna be trash, I think. Um, the tattoo itself, though, if you just boil it down to the one storyline, that just seems stupid to me. I don't imagine what the positive outcome of this is ever going to be. Is that going to make her feel better about herself in a year? I don't think so. But speaking of people changing something about their bodies, we have two other women on the roster that changed something recently. And there's been speculation about this for a while, but now more and more confirmation. And I figured this was the best time as any to talk about it, because now we actually have an updated picture. Billie Kay and Peyton Royce, they are the iconic duo, and they both got bigger breasts. They underwent some augmentation surgery, which Billie Kay did apparently in the past already. And if you look at her previous picture on WWE.com and you look at her current one, you're like, Jesus Christ, you changed. I hope this was something more of, let's just do this because we kind of want to, and it's not like a self-esteem problem. And I really hope that it's not an issue of WWE saying like, well, maybe you'd be on the main roster if you had some bigger tits, like that kind of a thing. Because that's like, God, that's awful if they did that.
Well, did you read AJ Lee's book, Crazy is My Superpower?
Nope.
Where there's a section in there where she literally says, yeah, somebody in the higher ups told her, we have a problem with you. Like, yeah, okay, you're great in the ring, but you're not fuckable.
What?
And yeah, you gotta read this book, dude. It's a fantastic book. They told her, our women are held to a higher standard of beauty, and like, we just don't think anybody wants to fuck you. And if you know me in the slightest, I absolutely adore AJ Lee in every way.
I think any reasonable man should. She's fucking cute as hell.
Yeah, I just like the idea that somebody would want to fuck anyone else on the roster at that point over AJ Lee is.
Not so much that, more so just that we don't believe anybody would want to fuck you. That's like, wow. Just because she's got smaller boobs? Really?
Yeah,
That's all that matters?
I think it's because they were really enthralled in the model, like, and they've got to look perfect, and they've got to be tan, and they've got to be,
Blonde of preference.
And they've got to be fit, and preferably blonde. And it was like, here's little AJ nerd chick. She's cute, but she's not like, oh my god, please show up at my doorstep naked. Like, and
That's so crazy, though.
WWE is just so oddly sexual at times. And that's why they go out of their way to do what they're doing with the women now, because they want to try to erase that.
Meanwhile, then you get an instance where the iconic duo get breast implants, and then you go, oh, maybe there's somebody who told them that.
I hope not.
Because it could be one thing or the other. It could be either they chose to do this because they just wanted to, or they felt like they needed to for a push.
I hope we're over the whole women need to look a certain way,
Mm-hmm.
Like, I like what the iconic duo brings to the table because I think they are more of a, persona duo than we wrestle good.
Yeah, they're characters more than they are performers in the ring.
And I think that's exactly what the women's division needs. Now, granted, they're an established team. I don't like the buddy-buddy system in women's wrestling, but it works for them. And I hope that this wasn't somebody telling them, especially at the same time, hey, both of you, maybe get some bigger sets. We put you on the main roster. Because that is utterly contradicting what, they come out on TV and they tell all the little girls watching.
And I mean, they weren't like completely flat chested to begin with, so it's even more ridiculous too to be like, well, you've got like C cups, you really aren't going to go anywhere in this company if you don't have like Fs or something like that kind of thing.
If it's a self-esteem thing, I think that's sad because they're gorgeous women and they should have no self-esteem issues.
Mm-hmm. But no matter what happened, something propelled them to do that, and Billie Kay now, at the very least, her picture is updated on the website, and it's just like, ba-boom. Like, bam, that's standing out. You clicking on it now to see?
Yeah, I'm going to
We're getting a live reaction.
Stars page. We're getting a live reaction. Okay. Do I have to click on NXT? No, I don't. Okay.
I think you do. I think it's a little drop-down bar.
All right.
Now, she used to have the picture of her in like the blue kind of velvety outfit stuff, which she looked good in there. I actually gave her the best ring attire of the year. Now it's just like, bam, look at these. You see them?
And these are probably photoshopped to try to match what she has, so it's probably enhanced in that sense as well. God.
Well, maybe they were told that they were going to be enhancement talent, and they took it the wrong way.
Oh. But,
Had to. It was out there. That is actually a good transition, though, as far as if we're talking about surgeries. Let's talk about another surgery. This one is an uplifting one, and I used the word uplifting without even thinking about that right now. It's terrible. Jesus Christ. My subconscious makes puns even nowadays. But somebody who went through a bunch of surgeries now getting some kind of positive feedback for it is Jarrius Robertson, a.k.a. JJ. He was announced today as being the recipient of the Warrior Award for this year. The Warrior Award, if you are unaware, is the award that is given to people that have no real affiliation with WWE, but they are inspiring stories based off of the idea that Warrior said people in the back should get awards too, like somebody like a Jim Johnston or people who set up the ring. which makes no sense, but that's how it is in WWE. It was, let's take the thing that honors the people that we never give any kind of credit for and turn it into something completely different. But he's dead. He won't be able to argue with it.
Listen, and I'll be honest. I think what they do is great. I think that they think they're doing his memory a service. But he did say specifically one thing, and even his own family has, gone this other way with it. So I'm not really sure I can condone it 100%. I did laugh, and maybe you did too, because you and I know that there was a long period of time where Warrior was, literally shit on by the company. They came out with a whole DVD shitting on the guy. And in the video tonight, they're like, the memory and the legacy of our very own Ultimate Warrior. And I'm like, oh, if you only knew the memories I have of what you used to say about this man. But I do think the award does great. It's great for the WWE Universe and the community. We do know that WWE is a very charitable organization. I'll admit, the whole video of JJ interviewing Triple H, I never got past the first 5 seconds where he's like, Mr. Triple H. I usually just skip over the video because I've seen a lot of these. I've seen a lot of the WWE charity things. But it was really inspiring to hear his story, how they had made funeral arrangements and they took him off life support and then he started breathing. That's really cool. He loves the industry. It'll be nice to see a young child like this accept the nomination because, obviously we had Connor and it was an emotional moment, but he wasn't there for it. So, kudos to WWE. It's a great thing.
That's where there's like the different sides of it, because the Warrior Award, I think, to me is PR stunt work, and I kind of can't give them too much credit for that because I know that there's at least part of them that goes, that'll look good for us. And then it makes me go, that's pretty shitty. But it's better than not doing it. And in my mind, I always kind of just argue the Warrior Award should be a Slammy Award thing, not a Hall of Fame thing. Because it's weird to me that it's like, who's the guy that got inducted last year, the football player or whatever?
Eric something or other. I honestly, last year, I didn't even pay attention to it. The only, I kind of tuned out. He was like, yeah, I used to love wrestling. I used to play SmackDown versus Raw. And I was kind of just like, all right, I'll go make some
I'll go
or something.
Figure out if I can take your shit right now or not or something. But that was sort of just ridiculous to me in certain ways. And it's like, for his story, his own side of things, like, obviously that sucks for him, and it's good that he's trying to, do charitable stuff and whatever like that. There's no argument against that. That's like, hey, it's good. But I'm like, okay, WWE Hall of Famer him? Like, it's just strange. And the good thing about this, though, ignoring the idea that I think that the Hall of Fame shouldn't have an award like this and that it should be something else doing the same thing, the JJ kid's cute. And it's cool to see, like, he went through, I don't know, they said, like, dozens of surgeries, and 2 of them were, like, liver transplants and stuff, and he's funny, and he's charismatic, and...
How old is he?
I think they said he's 14 now.
Okay, so
he might be a little bit younger than that, though.
Okay.
And they clearly showed footage of him when he was younger than that. He looked like he was, like, 8 or 9 or something in some of those, and he's not, like, 18, we could tell that, but he's young enough where it's just kind of like, it's kind of funny. Like, he, is talking to The Miz, and The Miz is like, who's your favorite superstar? And it's like, it's Roman Reigns, and who's your second favorite? I just got to tell you, buddy, you're the last of the list and stuff. Like, this kid's going to do one of the better acceptance speeches of the night, I think, which is kind of crazy.
Which I don't know.
I'm like more interested in seeing what he has to say than hearing what Goldberg has to say.
Do you do a separate thing for the Hall of Fame, like podcast was?
I usually don't do a breakdown podcast thing. This year I added a little separate page on the website for like a live discussion and stuff because I kind of figured that's good enough. And actually, that is something that I need to update now that I'm remembering about that, because that's not something that I could. I forgot to add that he will be doing that.
I didn't know if I wanted to drone on about this here, but I definitely think that the Hall of Fame should be moved to a private, still streamed on the network, but a
Not the
company
arena with the
only.
people.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
because if anybody says anything derogatory to this like kid, it would just sour me on wrestling and wrestling fans even more so than I already am. You know, like, don't shit on this kid, guys.
Well, one of the things I'm going to be doing this year is I'm going to be for people that have followed the content on the website in the past couple of months, I added that whole thing about the drinking game rules for the Royal Rumble. There's going to be a drinking game rules thing for the Hall of Fame. I'm going to make up a post about that, and there's going to be, the whole when somebody interrupts somebody, when somebody chants, you still got it, one more match, those kind of things and stuff. So now I'm going to have to take into account if somebody boos somebody like the fucking JJ kid or something, and it's going to be like, take a drink. It happened,
Like, I will literally... It's so hard to say, because there was the one year where they crapped on the Bushwhackers, and Jericho was like, these people should be kicked out immediately. People shouldn't even be invited to this Hall of Fame ceremony. But don't ruin the kids' night. Yeah, yes, we just said that last year's recipient wasn't much of anything special to us, but we're not crapping on the guy. We're just saying...
Yeah, if I were to be at that arena, I wouldn't have been booing the damn guy,
Yeah, I would listen to every word that he has to say and applaud him because, he's had trials and tribulations in life, and, good on this company that he enjoys for honoring him in a way that he might not get otherwise. Do not ruin this kid's night, this kid's moment.
Yeah. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But we will talk a little bit more about that when we do our Wrestling with the Past, because that'll be coming up in, how many weeks? I don't know, a couple of weeks. That's where we'll break down our full thoughts about the upcoming Hall of Fame class and different stuff like that. Real quick, before we get more into WrestleMania 34 talk, because that'll be our main topic of discussion for tonight, backtracking a little bit to something that happened after Monday Night Raw, which was the latest special for the WWE Network, the WWE photo shoot with Charlotte Flair. Skip it. This was not all that entertaining to me in my mind.
It's one of those things where, they're very much talking out of character, very much referencing her bad guy character with Dana Brooke, and how Dusty believed in the hugger character of Bailey and the boss character of Sasha. When I hear them use the word character so much, I just immediately think, why don't people like Vince Russo? Like, they do exactly what Russo does. They're always going out of your way to go character, and it's a show. That's what turned me off from this. It was cool to see. It was a little 15 minutes. Nothing that you need to go out of your way and watch unless you're anal about watching everything on the network. But I just don't like that constant reference to, hey, this is a show and it's fake and we're fake.
I don't mind that stuff, but if they have something interesting to say, that's the difference maker. And I feel like Charlotte's was just, here's a picture of something you did last year, and for her going, ha ha ha, yeah, I really like wrestling with the other three horsewomen, and then they go like, all right, that's a picture of me wrestling one of the horsewomen last year, yeah, that was really important to me. There's a picture of Becky, yeah, she's one of the horsewomen, yeah, she's really important to me. Oh, look at that, this is something important that the women did. Every single thing she did was either, it's great that I can be a wrestler and honor my father, and it's great that the women's revolution is happening. And my best friend is Becky. So after 4 or 5 of those, it was just like, all right, I get it. Can we talk about something else? And no. Instead of being like, here's a fun, interesting story of what happened backstage, it's the same story of the robe was made out of my father's robe. And instead of some like, when I came in PCB, I thought like the PCB name was really stupid. It became like, no, this is really important for me, and it's great that I was on the main roster. All right, fucking move on. Like, I want the Kofi one to be fun. Like, that's one coming up soon, I'm assuming, because they keep advertising that. Kofi, I can see being like, oh, look at this. This was a funny backstage story about how I did something. Like the table for three with the New Day. It was great that he was talking about how like he would just say his accent when he would like go up to Taco Bell and order shit and talk about like my compliments to the chef at Taco Bell and stuff. Like I want to hear that stuff. I want to hear when Kurt Angle was talking about how like the story of when he was supposed to shave Big Show and how he was all like upset about that and that Big Show is one of his best friends and stuff. Like I didn't know that he and Big Show were that close. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I know everything about Charlotte and fucking Becky and whatever because they just drone on about it nonstop. At this point, if you go a week without hearing about how they're all fucking connected, you've had a good week. So I didn't like this episode. It was short. They're all pretty short. But I feel like if you didn't see it, you don't need to watch it.
Well,
you
you
can
have to
spend
remember
those 20
what,
minutes doing something else.
other than, telling stories about what it was like to grow up with Ric Flair as a father, what stories does she really have to tell? She didn't have any.
Yeah, she's too young at this point on the
She
roster.
didn't have any struggles. A lot of all she can really say, which is exactly what you got, is wow, this was really cool history. Wow, I did this too. Like,
That's why I'd care more about if they had like the WWE photo shoot for have like the photo shoot for like Terry Runnels. That would be interesting, like something like that. But no, Charlotte. It's like, what, we're going to get like 2 weeks from now, the WWE photo shoot of Ruby Riott? Or she'll be like, here's the two things that I've done in my career.
You don't care for her very much, do you?
I was going to go with Liv Morgan, and then I was like, she's not even less. So I wouldn't have been able to say the two things I've done in my career. The WWE photo shoot of Sarah Logan. Here's the 6 matches I've had.
Well, she did a lot of enhancement stuff. And then she became Sarah Logan.
Not a fan. But the final main topic that we have to talk about for tonight is
a long one.
A little bit of a Raw reaction, mixed with a little bit of updates from the Elimination Chamber, mixed with a little bit of speculation, mixed with a little bit of WrestleMania talk, because essentially this will be a breakdown of how they've changed some things leading up to, the whole road of WrestleMania and everything like that. We know a little bit more about some game plans that we didn't know about last night, so why not update our opinions about different things? But we'll go on like a Raw breakdown of things. They started off the Raw show with, hey, did you watch that fucking Ronda Rousey segment last night? Which they did 4 times.
I think 4 times. I think it was 4 times before Ronda actually came out to close the show.
It was at least 3. And that is exactly what we were talking about last night. So, yay for proving that whole thing right.
They proved us right on a couple of things.
Yeah. Wrong about a couple things, though. Some of them good, some of them bad. Alexa Bliss comes out. She's got Mickie James with her, which means Mickey's actually a heel now. Mickie didn't say a damn thing, but when Asuka came out, she took in on the idea of beating down Asuka. Mickie is officially a heel. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Leading up to this, Mickie was a babyface that was being a little bit taken advantage of. Well, now she's a fucking heel. So they turned her, and I don't know exactly why they turned her. I don't think it's going to really matter all that much. I guess they did it because they were just kind of like, we kind of want a 6-woman tag match, and we don't know who else to incorporate, so can you kind of be a heel now? Which is fine, whatever. But they go through this whole thing with Asuka, Bayley, and Sasha against Alexa, Nia, and Mickie James. And the story of this whole thing was twofold. Number one being Bayley and Sasha Banks still feuding with each other. Number two being they still refuse to admit whether or not Asuka is fighting for that title, because they said it like 5 more times that she is fighting Alexa Bliss. Yet they undercut themselves right afterward all the time by going, well, she hasn't actually picked it. And it's like, well, fuck you, The website still just has her down as who will she choose. Which makes me go,
the show pretty much thinking she's fighting Alexa, and if she doesn't fight Alexa, this was a colossal waste of time.
I left the show thinking there's no way she's fighting Alexa. That's the funny thing. Because I went through this and I went, okay, they are continuing the Bayley Sasha Banks thing. That wasn't just like, let's feud for the Elimination Chamber. Now that's making me think, okay, for sure, Bayley and Sasha and Nia and Alexa.
But then you have Mickie James.
I think Mickey's just going to get crapped out on.
But then, and they're going to try to force Absolution in there. Like, if they don't just do one-on-one, they're going to try to force everybody in there. It's going to end up being like, you know what it's going to be? Here's Alexa versus either Asuka or Nia, and here's Sasha and Bayley in a lumberjill match.
I don't know. I don't think that they're doing 2 separate matches, but if they do the Asuka thing, then they might have to do 2 separate matches. But I don't think that they really quite know exactly how to go about doing any of this, because I'm still thinking to myself, well, the Charlotte thing is just, I can't imagine them just throwing all the SmackDown women together and thinking that that's good. And they don't have any other options. Like, Becky and Charlotte is not going to be doing all... Because remember, too, March 11th is Fastlane. So we only have, at that point, what is it? 1, 2, 3...
We'll have 4 weeks exactly to WrestleMania.
Yeah. So that's not good enough to be able to be like, all right, let's start this brand new feud for Charlotte type of thing. So if they do even have Asuka versus Charlotte, that's going to feel underwhelming. No matter what, talked about it last night, I think there's going to be at least one of these matches that we just go, well, this is kind of shit. And I don't know if it's going to be anything involving the Raw title or the SmackDown one. Right now, I'm leaning towards maybe the SmackDown one's going to feel like shit. Maybe both. I don't know. But after that, we get a little bit more clarification and then another undercutting, because John Cena comes out and he goes, I want to talk about what I talked about last night. Well, last night I was down on myself. Well, fuck that. Don't worry about it anymore. Okay, immediately you just undercut everything you just did last night. But he says, I'm going to issue out a challenge to The Undertaker, and it's impossible and it's not going to happen. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? And he says he's going to go to SmackDown. My interpretation of this was he brought out the Undertaker thing because he wants people to not forget about it. Yet he mentioned the SmackDown thing because they don't want to start the Undertaker storyline until after Fastlane. I'm thinking we get John Cena versus Shinsuke Nakamura. I don't know why Nakamura puts up his title match, but maybe it's for that, and maybe that's why they haven't done anything with Nakamura. And John Cena loses, and he comes back out on Monday Night Raw following Fastlane, and he just says, like, look, I am definitely at, like, a mercy play right now. I have nothing else that I can do, and I'm just going to call out The Undertaker again and say, like, please. But that also undercuts the idea of the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, because we know we're going to get that match. And if he says there's nothing for him to do, then it's like, you could enter that Battle Royal, dude.
Well,
that's beneath
this
me.
running gag of John for at least the first 3 years of the Battle Royal, trying to say, I have nothing. That means I'm going in the Battle Royal. And then they go, no, John, you can't just insert yourself into a match at WrestleMania. So I don't think they're going to go that route again. By the way, guys, Tony is being very nice. This was the funniest segment ever. John Cena comes out. It does seem like he's undercutting everything he went through. And then he announces The Undertaker, and the place blows. And they're cheering, and John is like, yeah! And then he goes, and that is not gonna happen. Yeah, now you feel the same failure I felt. And I'm going to SmackDown, and one way or another, I'm going to WrestleMania. I really think that they might pull the trigger on a very, if not a heel in a I'm just going to fuck everything up sense, a very whiny, entitled heel John Cena. Like, I think they're going somewhere with this. I don't know who the opponent will be. I do think he tries to, Rob Shinsuke, and maybe they try to go with the triple threat there. The only issue I have with that is, if you announced AJ versus Shinsuke and you take that away, it's going to be a lot of unhappy customers, you know what I mean? But I do think we get John in some sort of villain capacity at WrestleMania. Even, I mentioned this last night, maybe he pokes the bear with Daniel Bryan. Maybe Daniel Bryan versus John Cena is actually the way they're going to go. I don't know. I definitely think we're getting a heel Cena on this road to WrestleMania, no matter who the opponent is.
See, I got a feeling that it's just a matter of him fighting The Undertaker, and if he's a little bit more on the heel side, it's because they just want him to be the one that gets booed compared to The Undertaker.
Well, they never have to try to get John Cena booed.
Yeah, but they also are a company that they do things when they don't have to, and they don't do things when they have to. Kind of like, it's easy to, you put Undertaker versus John Cena, Undertaker's getting cheered. And all you have to do is have John Cena say, hey, why don't we fight The Undertaker? And Undertaker goes, yup. And you don't have to do a single thing else. People are going to be like, dude, I'm in.
Which is where I thought they were going right before he said the whole it's not going to happen thing.
Mm-hmm.
They did, one theme with tonight's Raw was we're taking the long and winding and very uncertain road to WrestleMania.
In some ways. Some of them, they pretty much just spelled it out. And actually one of them, we'll get to that in a little bit, but before there's even that, there's a thing that it's just, I hope that this doesn't come into WrestleMania plans.
Yeah, it will.
Bray Wyatt talking about how the fucking match with Matt Hardy is not over with yet.
The Great War is coming. I told you we're getting a Final Deletion style match at WrestleMania.
I just don't imagine that they, like...
Well, last year they did the weird thing where, like, the ring had the, green screen on it, and they kept flashing weird images.
I just kind of think, like, does anybody care enough at this point?
No, I think the balloon is off the road.
Because we can't have 20 matches at WrestleMania. That's the other thing. Eventually, some of these matches can't exist. Right now, I mean, putting it this way, we got the Universal title match, we got the Cruiserweight Championship match, WWE title match, the Rousey mixed tag match. We're going to have something with the SmackDown Championship, the SmackDown Women's Championship, something with the Raw Women's Championship, John Cena, Undertaker, something with Braun Strowman, we'll get to that in a little bit, Intercontinental Championship match, United States Championship match, Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, Raw Tag Team Championship, SmackDown Tag Team Championship, potentially
SmackDown
Kevin Owens.
Might get cut.
They might, and that's the other thing is too, there's another whole thing with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn might fight each other, and if you add Matt Hardy versus Bray Wyatt, we're talking... What is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, potentially 16 matches on the card when they couldn't squeeze 14 of them in last year. I just don't think that they can do that. And if this is something that they're going to continue to do well after WrestleMania too, then it's just like, man, I don't know if I have the patience for this kind of stuff. But that's something to keep in mind.
Yeah, not much to add there. They left it out there that it's not over yet. Where they decide to go with it, we'll see.
Yeah, because this could be something where they just say that, and then they just don't do anything for the next couple of months because they know that they want to pick up the feud after Mania. That could be one of those things. But then we get The Miz come out. Of course, before that we had a Ronda Rousey segment thing, but The Miz comes out and he says the most confusing way possible. He will learn who his WrestleMania opponent is tonight by maybe wrestling somebody who might possibly end up being in WrestleMania, depending on if they win the match, which is not a match to determine if they are in WrestleMania, yet he has 2 matches that turn into 3 matches. But if you unpack everything, Miz versus Finn Balor versus Seth Rollins. Yeah, it seems like that's where we're going.
Because Miz fought Seth first. Seth beat him, and I'm not going to drone on about it, but Seth has no idea what his finisher is. Uh,
What did he
he
do to
did,
win it this time? I don't even remember.
he did the knee that he was using as a finisher for a while, and then he beat him with a frog splash.
Huh.
So Seth has no clue what his finisher is. And then immediately after that, no announcement of a match or anything. Balor just comes out. And Seth is pissed that Balor came out after his victory to steal his thunder. And next thing I know, Balor and Miz are fighting.
And then there's a DQ, and Miz Taraj and Good Brothers come out. They get ejected from ringside. Kurt Angle says, no, this match is going to happen, and there will be a winner, or else The Miz isn't going to be at WrestleMania, which would then mean that there's no Intercontinental Championship, which would mean Seth Rollins won his match for absolutely no reason. But that's logic. WWE doesn't apply with logic a lot. And Finn Balor beats The Miz. Renee Young afterward talks to Seth Rollins, and he says, essentially, Finn Balor is a little piece of shit, and I want to fight The Miz for the Intercontinental title.
So you know we're getting the triple threat, which is one of the things we kind of predicted.
I was hoping that it would go that way because I had been worried that the Braun Strowman thing would happen. And when they announced that, like, The Miz is coming up next and he's going to find out who his WrestleMania opponent is, and he started talking about how... Yeah, he's talking about how, like, who is out there, like, whoever it is, I'll beat their ass or something. I was like, oh, Braun's coming out.
I'm going to beat your ass. I was ready to hear Braun.
Yeah. So that took me by surprise, and that was a pleasant surprise, because I want Balor, Rollins, Miz more than Strowman, Miz.
Honestly, I think that might
be the match of the night.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm totally cool with that. And for that matter, I'm okay with any of those three winning that title. If The Miz keeps it, cool. If Balor wins it, he's right on the level for it. Awesome. If Rollins wins it, cool. I'm fine with it. So that's going to be one of those matches that I'm like the most excited for at WrestleMania, which is really strange. Then we get a sour note. Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar face-to-face segment. Roman Reigns comes out. He says, well, after he waits until the crowd starts, giving him a chance to talk because booing and stuff. He essentially just says, Lesnar isn't here tonight. He doesn't respect anybody. Blah, 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 blah. I do. I'm not afraid of him. I'm going to call him a bitch, and then I'm going to leave. Exactly the same shit that we got at WrestleMania 31. Lesnar doesn't care about WWE. I'm here all the time. I'm going to call him a bitch and say I can beat him. What is the difference? This time around, it was in a different arena. And then what's weird about it after that is we get a whole thing with WWE realizing that what they should have done is that they should have done the Braun Strowman thing. And they acknowledge afterward that that's kind of the case in a sort of offhanded kind of way, where they say, they leave the Roman Reigns promo alone. He goes back to the backstage area. He leaves, and instead of cutting to a commercial after that, or just saying, like, we'll be right up after this, they go, hey, this is what Braun Strowman's going to be doing. He's going to be fighting Elias coming up next. If you were wondering where Braun Strowman is in this whole feud, he is fighting Elias kind of off on the side, which is really kind of strange. So I hated this whole thing. I was really disappointed with the way that they did this. I think that this just confirms all of my suspicions for WrestleMania being as bland as it can possibly be, and that they can be as tone deaf as they can possibly be, because they went out there and they gave Reigns the I'm one of you types of promos. I don't like when they have to do that because it's cheap, and I don't think it worked as well as it should have. So
we're gonna completely disagree here, because I honestly think that something happened, because they were plugging Brock and Roman face to face for the entire night, and then randomly before commercial they go, and Roman Reigns is coming up next. I went, wait, what? What happened to face to face?
I think it's planned.
I'm gonna really bitch about this multi-million-dollar company and their lazy-ass graphics team. Did you notice that in the graphic they displayed all night for the face-to-face, it's literally from 3 years ago, and you can literally see Brock Lesnar holding a title that clearly says World Heavyweight Champion?
I didn't notice that, but that's just, they really just, they actually copied the stuff from a couple years ago?
The picture that they used was literally from a stare down 3 years ago. And it just... But outside of that, I was confused by this segment. This was another one that I was just like, okay, where is the structure here? They promoted Lesnar all night last night, and they promoted Lesnar all night tonight. Only to have Roman go, up until about a half an hour ago, I really thought we were getting Brock Lesnar. But he decided he just couldn't make it. And I'm gonna get my ass chewed out backstage. And yeah, I don't necessarily like things like that, but it had an awkward enough tone that it at least has me thinking, yeah, I think Brock had some type of issue. I don't know why they just didn't send Heyman out there or something.
That's why I think that that's the case. That's why I don't believe any of this, because I feel like this is such a tool to get people to go, well, Roman's the good guy here because he even decided to shoot on Brock Lesnar.
But it worked tonight. People started going crazy for Reigns. As soon as he said, I'm not afraid of that little bitch, he's not here, I am, people started going nuts for Roman. So I'm worried about that because that means they're probably going to push this, angle style, and I don't want it. I had enough of it 3 years ago where it was like, will Brock stay or will Brock go? And then...
Will Brock stay or will Brock go now?
Right up until the Friday before Mania, that's when Brock's like, yeah, I'm staying with WWE. And then it became, okay, now what do you do? And I don't want that again. Roman deserves to have just a straight up title win. They need to just get it out of the way. Everybody hates it. Whatever. They didn't do anything with the Braun thing. They opened the show with the fucking clip of Braun beating up Roman, and they went nowhere with it.
No, so instead they just went, if you are worried about what Strowman's doing, come up soon, Elias.
He's fighting Elias. And if you're not going to do anything with it, if you're going to have it be Roman versus Braun, then you didn't need to end Elimination Chamber the way you did. Roman kind of seems like the good guy, kind of as he did in the Cena feud when he was just like, hey, John said he's a WWE guy, and look what he's doing. And I'm fine with that, except for the fact that you had Roman lose to The Miz, you had Roman lose to Seth Rollins. If you were gonna have Roman be your WWE superstar badass, maybe he didn't need to lose so much on the way to the chamber. Whatever, it's WWE, they get around it however they can. But I was left confused by this segment, and I don't know if it was just a mishap or whatever, but they promised Brock, they didn't deliver. That kind of makes me upset because Brock is a draw for me at this point to keep the channel on and stay watching Raw. So when they don't deliver on it, I'm kind of sour. I'll be glad when this part-time champion thing is done. Not because I don't like Brock, because I'm ready for a full-time champion. I'm ready to kind of get back to normal.
My issue isn't Roman losing on the way there, because I think that they, in their mind at the very least, they think to themselves, if we have Roman win everything, everybody's going to bitch that he wins all the time. If we have him lose, maybe they'll give us, cut us some slack. And in their mind, they were probably sitting there going, if we book Braun Strowman to be the absolute star, we refuse to have him win the match. We will not entertain that idea. But maybe if we have him do everything possible to get around the idea of him winning the match, so that way he's 99% the most powerful person in the whole match, but he still loses, then people will go, well, at least Braun didn't look weak. And he didn't. By no means did he look weak. So when people go, oh, Braun's getting buried, you don't know how to use the term. But what bugs me about it is like, I mean, what bugs me more than anything is that they think that the Roman Reigns Brock Lesnar thing is something to redo again, and that they're going to just repeat themselves. But on top of that, that they go, let's build up Braun Strowman to the point where he's at the top of the food chain, where people love him, yet not want to give him something. And even getting in out of leaving Elimination Chamber, let's make sure that we know that the fans can feel confident that we want to push Braun. And then we're going to put him up with Elias. And I like Elias. I like Elias a lot. If you were to tell me he were to be a fourth person in that Intercontinental title match, I would be totally for it. Braun Strowman versus Elias at WrestleMania is not a WrestleMania match. And on top of that, it's not good enough for Braun Strowman. I don't care if they have some kind of wild gimmick. I don't care if it's for a number one contender spot. That's underwhelming for Braun. So they did this fire extinguisher thing, and they are continuing this feud, and I don't care.
I had an epiphany watching Braun chase down Elias. I'm like, instead of the Andre Invitational, why don't we do the Braun Strowman Get These Hands Gauntlet? Where Braun has to go through anyone who wants a spot at Mania. And it's at least a feature spot. It's an attraction for Mania. And it's something different. What do you think about that? Like,
I think they just need that Andre Battle Royal again. And that's part of me is actually thinking, what if that's all that this is going to build to? What if Braun is just getting that Battle Royal this year again?
The only way I'll accept that is if Braun literally eliminates everybody in that match.
Well, that's also the thing, is what if that's the point? What if it's going to be, if Goldberg is in it, which there's no confirmation about that. They haven't even confirmed that the match is happening, but we know it will be. If it ends up being Braun Strowman and Goldberg throwing every single person out, and then Braun Strowman versus Goldberg in the ring, and that's their idea of like, maybe Braun wins that, and then they're like, that's your big WrestleMania moment, is you win the Battle Royal and you beat Goldberg to do it.
No, they need to just do Braun in a Battle Royal. He literally eliminates everybody. If there's 30 guys in there, he eliminates 29. Like, that to me, he needs to be in a feature spot. He needs to be put over as an attraction, because come hell or high water, on the Monday after, they're going to want to make him the number one contender. And there's the fear of doing Braun and Roman again.
They can't do that anymore. Because then Roman's just going to beat him again, and then it's just going to be the same shit. And at that point, we all need to send them emails.
Unless they just send him to SmackDown and they do a Superstar Shakeup immediately. Because that might keep him fresh.
I wouldn't be shocked at all if the Superstar Shakeup happens 2 weeks after WrestleMania.
Yeah, but I'm very underwhelmed with what they're doing with Strowman. Like I said, tonight left me confused. Completely just baffled. Like, why do we take this road to WrestleMania that we take? They've really latched onto this thing where, hey, you never, ever, ever know who's gonna get ahead on this road to WrestleMania. And I don't like that mindset. And you were talking last night about, the Hulk Hogan era and how things used to work there. And I think that's a little bit of the issue. That's where, like, people like Braun and Brock fail. Because back in those days, Hogan was an attraction. Andre was an attraction. They weren't on TV every week, but they were on house shows. And you didn't have to see the big stars lose every single Monday. You had no need for 50-50 booking. I think
there just wasn't enough material, and it was like, you can get away with the confrontation happens and then that builds a match in 2 months.
Yeah.
Because you only had a couple shows here and there, and it was like, you had your Monday Night Raw in a, post 93, and that was your only show. You only had 2 hours of Monday Night Raw. Now you've got hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of footage to fill every single week with every single person. And
And the problem is it's a content structure geared towards these network specials that you don't need to save and keep anything fresh for because we're giving you the special for free if this is your first month. You know, I think if they had a better end goal as far as content structure, maybe we could start to see some of these plot holes fill up. But there's a very strong feeling of confusion for me.
I'm just kind of confused about how they think certain things are good enough. If they build WrestleMania to be the biggest show of the year, where the most important people are going to be put in the most important matches and that kind of a thing, sometimes, and this happens a lot of WrestleManias, but it's been happening a lot more in the past 10 years. They book these people in these matches that are underwhelming, and then it's almost like a mentality of, yeah, but you're getting everything else, shut up. Kind of.
And I think that's a huge issue. Yeah, like I even pitched it last night. What if Roman versus Brock is a part of their content strategy? What if they're just like, hey, we know you're going to shit on this match. Come to New Orleans. Come shit on this match. Come be a part of that experience. Come be a part of the rowdiest crowd of the year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I
especially
get it.
With that whole idea of them being like, I know the internet is going to shit on this. Well, we're giving them Nakamura Styles.
I get that they're trying to be transparent because we're in a weird time where it's like it's half shoot, it's half work. Hunter said it on the Austin podcast back in 2014. You know, you have to figure out how to work the work again because so many people know everything. But really, to just do these things for longtime fans like us, we're not used to that. WrestleMania used to literally just be the culmination, the biggest rivalries, whatever your biggest match can be, it'll culminate here. WrestleMania since maybe 27, 28 has become this, it's a spectacle. It's pomp and circumstance. The matches don't really matter because it's the moment. It's the experience. It's, hey, Rock is wearing a suit and he takes off his suit and he's got his gear on and he's gonna wrestle Eric Rowan. It's shit like that.
It's we can have The Miz and Maurice against Nikki Bella and John Cena because we want to have the proposal. There's no reason that they did that match other than the proposal.
That's my exact next example because John even said last year, Miz, if I had my way, I'd be standing across the ring with The Undertaker, not you. Why am I looking at you 4 weeks out from WrestleMania? And I think that is the whole issue. You know, John didn't need to propose to Nicole. I'm sure he didn't mind doing it, but he didn't need to do it in public. You know what I mean?
Well, they valued the idea of the moment of saying somebody, our big guy,
and our big girl
did the whole proposal thing at WrestleMania. And I don't fault them 100% on that either, because that is something like that. It makes sense for them in their mind to be like, well, it's not all just about this pure athlete versus this pure athlete and stuff, because they are a company about storylines and stuff. But I also
that was
look at that.
Moment. Like, you know, maybe John didn't want to have that moment. You know, maybe he wanted to be private about it.
Maybe. You know, you never really know for sure. But I look at that moment and I go, did it need Al Roker?
No, it didn't. No.
that's where I go, huh.
You know, he called, what do you call AJ? The guy from Atlanta? Like, why do you insist on bringing these people into your company that shit on your company? You know, like, the only reason pro wrestling isn't respected is because pro wrestling
do shit like this
at times doesn't respect itself. Can you imagine? And this is why the Attitude Era was so successful, because they had promos that said, oh, you think I'm fake? I dare you to do what I do. Can you imagine if they were to say that today? I wish they would.
Look at the difference between how they book WrestleMania now versus how they book WrestleMania back in the Attitude Era. Stone Cold was unarguably the top, most popular person in the company. So they always wanted him to be at the top, which makes perfect sense. The Rock, he starts building up a whole lot of steam, and they go, it'd be kind of cool if we had The Rock as the bad guy against him. And it makes sense, and they do the match, and that's cool. Meanwhile, they have people like the New Age Outlaws, and they're like, well, they're our most popular tag team. They should be in the tag team title match, and then they should be fighting, so-and-so, and we should do this, and we should do that. And we've been building up this storyline between The Undertaker and Kane. That would be one of our featured matches, Undertaker versus Kane, and that they do these kind of things like that, and it makes perfect sense.
And you still get your celebrity, and Kane still fucks up Pete Rose, and it's great.
Yeah, and you do that kind of stuff. And the way that they've been doing WrestleMania the past couple of years is they go, it looks like that this is the type of match that we should potentially build to. But we'd rather do this instead. So instead of making it and going, well, maybe we don't know exactly what we need to give the fans. Maybe the fans can dictate what they want, and we'll give it to them. They go, no, we're going to spend a year telling them that they're wrong. So maybe we can convince them that they'll just listen to what we want to say. And that's where the Roman Reigns Brock Lesnar thing gets in my mind. Because a year ago, I had written up articles about this for an entire year. It was always, do you actually want to see, out of all the possible options for WrestleMania this year, is Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar in your top 7 options that you would want? And nobody ever really gave me a response of, yeah. The only responses I ever got that were positive were, well, what else is WWE going to do? They're going to like to do it, and if I were working for them, I would do it too. Never anything from a fan point of view other than a Smark point of view of, I guess that might be a good for business thing.
Yeah, that's
and the people that look at it through that point of view are the same ones that would be under company speak. They would be the ones that say the thing about Ultimate Warrior being our Ultimate Warrior because they were told from a higher up that you need to refer to him as our Ultimate Warrior.
Which is ridiculous.
But when you step out of the company and then you go, yeah, there's some bullshit that they do, then it's a different story. And Roman Reigns Brock Lesnar is not the match that even a week ago people would have been like, out of all the matches, that's the one that I want. For an entire year, they put Strowman out there and they had him lose. They put Joe out there and they had him lose and whatever. And all because they wanted to say, look, we pushed all of them aside. Now you have to do Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar. And you either accept it and you get on board with it and you cheer the way that we want to, or you don't like it and tough shit, that's what you're getting. Turn it off if you don't want it. And then you do the whole thing of like, well, then if I turn it off, then they go like, oh, well, what people aren't watching? And then it's like, yeah,
Well,
it just bugs me because that does the same thing when it comes to the Ronda Rousey thing.
Which we're going to get there. But I got to say, you nailed it last night in comparing Braun Strowman to Ryback. Because that's exactly what I felt tonight. Like, you have this organically grown baby face, and you're just like, well, here's what we have been building towards, and you will not change my mind. I have OCD. It's gotta be this way because I meticulously built this.
Mm-hmm.
They're not adaptable, which is so weird because they're in the one industry where you have to be fully adaptable.
Yeah, with injuries and with just going with what the crowd likes and stuff. They used to be able to adapt, and they don't anymore. But they demand this kind of attention from certain things, and then when it doesn't work, then they say the problem is the fans, not the problem is the product. And that just bugs me. And we were talking earlier about the whole Ronda Rousey thing. They, of course, like 4 times in the night, hey, there's the Ronda Rousey thing. Again, to a certain extent, I don't blame them. Ronda Rousey is popular. She's nowhere near as popular as she was 3 years ago. But then again, the Roman Reigns Brock Lesnar thing is nowhere near as palpable as it was 3 years ago. Because really, back when 3 years ago when that happened, I wanted Roman Reigns to beat Brock Lesnar, win the championship, and be done with it. I was for it. That year, that WrestleMania, that Royal Rumble, I was one of the few people in Philly for that Royal Rumble who cheered Roman Reigns winning the Royal Rumble. Because everybody else was going. Yeah, it was in Philly. So I was in there, And everybody was bitching and complaining about Daniel Bryan, and I was going, I want Roman Reigns to win. I want him to be the guy who beats Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. 3 years later, I'm like, I don't want to just see this again. What are we going to do? We're going to have, because the same thing it bugged me about Triple H versus Undertaker 4 fucking times or whatever it was. But when they do certain things, it makes sense. And it makes sense that the Ronda Rousey thing is something. And the promo that ends the whole thing tonight, which proves that since it started and it ended tonight, that this is their top priority going into WrestleMania. I thought it was stupid.
Okay,
so
I may have to take back what I said about the John promo being the most bait and switch funny promo of all time. This was bizarre. So last night, for those of you who didn't see it or hear our recap, they were like, Kurt Angle has the flu. He's delusional. And tonight, Ronda Rousey comes out. Stephanie wants an apology from Kurt. She wants an apology from Ronda. Ronda comes out ready to kick Stephanie's ass. And Kurt goes, Ronda, I'm sorry. I have been very sick. I've had the flu. I had no idea I even said that to you last night.
I had the double flu. And I need this job. So I misheard and I lied.
Right. And then Ronda goes, okay, I'm willing to forgive you if Stephanie says she's sorry to me. And I think, here we go. I'm sorry that you're such an entitled bitch, Smack. And no. She walks right up to her and she's, Ronda, I'm so sorry. You hit my husband. What was I supposed to do? I'm sorry. It was the heat of the moment. Okay. We're good. Welcome to WWE. Thank you. We're good. They're leaving the ring, and for whatever fucking reason, Triple H just beats the
just one punches
out of fucking Kurt Angle. What the fuck just happened?
Which is their way of going, it's not over yet. Oh, we got to tune in next week to see what happens in the crazy story of the fucking mixed tag match and whatever. And I was just like, this is so awkward. And
then you got, Stephanie even looking at Hunter like, what the fuck did you do that for? The whole thing just reeked of, we have no idea of what we want to tell you.
Well, I think it strikes me more as, shit, we need to do something with this, but we can't just fully announce it February 26th.
I don't know. I walked away from that segment thinking, Hunter versus Kurt with the girls in the corner? Like, maybe not a full-blown mixed tag?
No, they already said that she has a match at WrestleMania. So they already specified she's wrestling.
Oh, well, she can wrestle Dana Brooke.
God, if they add that match, Jesus.
Wait, did you skip Titus Worldwide in the bar?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I totally skipped them because, we had a 2 out of 3 falls match that ended in the first 2 falls where the bar said, we beat everybody, there's nobody else to beat, and nobody came out to say, not me.
Because, again, the fucking confusion. I left Raw tonight thinking, we are on a long road to WrestleMania, and even though we all know where we're going and how we're getting there, they're going to take us the scenic route because they have 10 plus content hours to fill and they cannot blow it all on February 26th.
Mm-hmm. And then what the worst thing is going to be, they're going to drag these stories out for the next 5 weeks. And then at the last minute, they're going to go, here's 6 more matches on the WrestleMania card.
Yeah,
they're not going to have time.
You didn't see this coming. Oh my God, Ronda Rousey versus Stephanie McMahon.
Well, not even that. I think that's going to be like 3 weeks from now. They're going to announce that or something. But then they're going to go, oh fuck, we forgot about the SmackDown tag titles. And then they're going to go, how about the New Day versus Usos versus Bludgeon Brothers? That's good enough. Then they'll go, all right, well, look at the Cruiserweight situation. The Cruiserweight Championship has 4 matches in this next round, then 2 more matches, and then the finals.
Because they had to drag it out.
And they've been dragging this out and stuff, but at the same time, we're having 2 of those matches next week. So we have 6 matches, and we have more than 6 weeks. And we're taking care of 2 things and stuff. So they're going to reach a point pretty soon. Maybe it's going to be, well, I mean, realistically, it's probably 2 weeks from now, where they can't do any more matches in the tournament because the next match in the tournament will be the finals. So then the 2 weeks or whatever leading up to WrestleMania for 205 Live is going to be, nothing is going to be accomplished. We're going to have, like, say the finals are like Cedric Alexander versus Mustafa Ali. Well, they're going to be on opposite ends of a tag team match and whatever. And 205 Live is going to suck balls. And then, I'm not into it.
I tell you what, I love the idea of Miz, Balor, and Rollins. I hope they get 30 minutes to absolutely kill it at WrestleMania.
Watch them fuck him over and put him on the pre-show.
They're going to go on the pre-show. And you know what? We're not even going to get the Demon. I was thinking about that. I bet you we don't even get the Demon.
This is going to be so weird, WrestleMania. I don't want to be so negative, but leaving Elimination Chamber, there were a bunch of things that kind of annoyed me about WrestleMania coming up. And leaving Monday Night Raw tonight, I thought, well, they confirmed a couple things that aren't going to be as good, and they changed one thing around and made it better. Like the Intercontinental title situation, it's better than what it was last night. Everything else is just as bad, if not worse. So
I'll be honest, a lot of my interest in the road to WrestleMania hinges on what they're doing with SmackDown, what they decide to do with Kevin and Sammy, what they decide to do with AJ going against Shinsuke, and what they decide to do with John. I think most of my interest hinges on what they decide to do with John Cena, and if it's as interesting as I see it in my mind's eye. And then, of course, there's just the fear of being horrendously let down.
Well, those are the hot tags for the week, everybody. That is, at least as far as Monday Night Raw is over with. Tomorrow night on SmackDown, we will find out some more information about the whole John Cena thing and potentially some other stuff going forward, but I doubt too much because we still have Fastlane. So Fastlane is going to be post-Fastlane. That's when we actually get the stories. We get more confirmation about SmackDown side of things and all that other kind of stuff. A couple days from now, we're going to have the mailbag is going to be the next thing that you're going to be hearing us from. So if you have not sent in your questions, do them pretty much immediately because it's either going to be Wednesday afternoon or Thursday afternoon, possibly. And we already have a lot. We already have Frankie, Peter, Andre, some other people here and there. Howard, I think, sent something in. Ben did, I think, as well. And I got to whittle them down and start figuring out which questions we're going to be answering on the show and stuff over the next day and a half, essentially. But if you want to be aware of when we post that, make sure you subscribe on the YouTube channel and ring the bell for notifications. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter at SmarkOutMoment. Keep checking SmarkOutMoment.com itself as well. For following Robert over there on Twitter.
It's @DudeFelice everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff. Tony?
And for myself, it's @TonyMango. And I also have fanboysanonymous.com for those people that want to follow the movie review type stuff on that. Not too sure the next thing I'm going to be posting. Kind of depends on how much time I get how much free time I get to do that kind of stuff. But I'm hoping to kind of see some movies soon. So some movie reviews coming up maybe. In any fashion, that's where you'll find out that stuff. Go ahead and subscribe to that YouTube channel and follow that website. And that's it for now. So thank you for listening to this episode, everybody. This has been another Smark Out moment. And we are being counted out.